Issues with the group. Thank you very much.
She went to the group.
Yeah, for.
We're live.
Oh, live. We'll go with.
Welcome, committee members. We are all alone today. We have no members of the public in the building, but before we will have people watching online, either live or the day. Please ensure that your cell phone devices are either switched off or on silent mode whilst the meeting is in progress, and we will stop the meeting if meeting is interrupted. This meeting is being held in the supper room of the Waihinga Centre, Martinborough Town Hall. It is being live streamed and will be available to view on Council's YouTube channel. Even though my notes only say the health and safety if there's members of the public in the building, and we'll go over them since we jinxed it last time and had a fire alarm. So the emergency exits are behind me or the door in front of me, and we meet. Please join me in standing for the opening of Ken.
Kia whakapapa mu te moana, e hua mā tātou, I te rangi nei. Aroha atu, aroha mai. Tātou I a tātou katoa. Kai ki.
We have apologies this morning from Councillor Ellips. Do I have a seconder? Sorry, do I have a mover? Councillor Bosley and a seconder, Councillor Gray. All those in favour, please say aye.
Aye.
All those against, no. Motion is carried. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare this morning? No, that being the case, we'll move on to acknowledgements and tributes, and I will start by paying tribute to Beverly McNally, who from Featherston, who passed away over the weekend. Beverly was new to Featherston, but she very quickly had embedded herself into the community. I'd only had the pleasure of meeting Beverly a couple of times, but it was obvious that she was community focused and passionate about the community that she had moved to. Beverly had joined various groups in Featherston. She was part of the knitting group. She volunteered with Booktown. She had just recently been appointed to the Paitamukai Charitable Trust. So I have no doubt that given more time, she would have made quite the impact on our wee village, and my empathy goes to all those that knew and cared about Beverly at this very sad time. Any other tributes?
I just saw a tribute to local next door neighbouring Carlton resident John Rose. He was the president of the Lions Club and done a lot for the community, and his funeral was actually this afternoon. So.
Any other tributes or acknowledgements today?
I'd just like to do which was acknowledgement to the nurses that are striking today, and there's the big protest in Masterton, which conflict of interest I couldn't attend, but I think it'd be nice if they had our support.
For them.
Thank you, everyone. Moving along, we do not have any public participation registered today. Are there any urgent business? That being the case, we will move on to the confirmation of minutes. We are now considering the Strategy Working Committee meeting minutes from the 2nd of July. Are there any corrections needed to those minutes, please? That being the case, do I have a mover? Thank you, Councillor Bosley, and a seconder, Councillor Old. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. All those against, no. Motion is carried. Amy will abstain because I wasn't here. Are there any matters arising from the previous minutes? Very efficient today. Report backs and updates from the Māori Standing Committee and community groups. Now, the community boards, we haven't had any of those registered. which takes us to item 10.1, our LGNZ 4 monthly report. We do have Susan, wonderful, with us. And do we have Ranjani as well, both from LGNZ. So they are here, they can give us any highlights, and then we'll open for questions from the team as well.
Thank you. Can you hear me all right?
We can, thank you.
Lovely. Okay, well, it's nice to see you all. Thank you very much for having us. It's one of the things that we have offered as we've sort of, realised that we want to keep our members informed about what we do, and the opportunity to not only do these 4 monthly reports, but to invite questions or comments from you is a really good way to connect. So thank you for having us. As we were just saying, Ranjani's on the call too. She's our chief advisor. She's an expert in all things, government relations, media, you name it. She's our political guru, so she's happy to talk about any aspect of what we have here as well. Our 4 monthly report is basically a pretty comprehensive view of things we've done in that period to support you, to connect you, and also to champion local government and the issues that matter to you. So we really do take it as read, and will be really happy to answer questions. I'm also super conscious that it's a month since this report period ended, and in that time we've had our AGM and our conference as well, super local. So there were a number of highlights of that, not least the release of a couple of key reports of ours, which was the electoral reform recommendations that were the result of a working group that me and Nick Smith led over the last while. Comprehensive engagement, some really strong recommendations that we hope will be in place for the next election, not this one. And also our report that we commissioned from Burl, which is the actual economic impact of local government to New Zealand's GDP and the value you provide. So those were 2 real highlights of it. Top of mind though, and a couple of things that are mentioned in the report are around what's looming for you all, which is elections and vote 25. There's a wee section on that. So we have, just as a reminder, we've got and created some pre-election modules. So if you know people who are looking to stand and thinking about it, and there's still 3 more days to go before they put nominations, to put nominations in, then or even if they're candidates and haven't yet known about it, we have created these pre-election modules that are free, that people can find out a bit more about what they're getting themselves into. We've also got our candidates guide. Also want to highlight on that front, for all of you who are restanding, that policy.nz, through actually some quite critical work of Ranj to get council support, that Policy NZ was about to close down off the back of lack of funding. That's the website that enables candidates to put details of them and online for anyone to see. It's really useful. We've recommended it as an extension of that in the electoral reform recommendations as well. So we're really pleased that we've had members' support to keep that alive. And we're also on the election front. We are really well advanced in our planning for inductions and how that continues to be supported by the whole Ākona data, Ākona training and learning platform, which is really extensive now. We've got about $1 million worth of assets there that are free for all our members to use. And our mayor's chair still. Sorry, I have a dog barking really loudly. Can you hear her? No, she's only disturbing me. All right. That's all right. That's all right then. So yes, so we're underway with that. We've also, in that 4th monthly report, we've got our calendar for the next year. So make sure you look at that and put the key dates in your diary. And at our AGM, the members approved 4 remits, which we can talk more to if you're interested. But my final point, as a bit of an overview before opening up for questions, is that this this is my last month at LGNZ, as I'm sure some of you know. So just to say that we have, just in case you haven't caught up with the news, our National Council has appointed Scott Necklin as the interim chief executive. He'll be the interim chief executive for 7 months. The National Council wants the new National Council to recruit the permanent CE. So that's really, really fantastic, because it gives us continuity as I leave, and he knows the business super well. So and I think you all know Scott as well. I think that's enough from me. Ranj, is there anything that you want to highlight or say that I haven't touched on at this stage?
Just one particular thing that ties into both the backward looking for the last 4 months, as well as the continuation and what's top of mind for you, which is the elections. The Electoral Reform Working Group's final position paper, that work is really critical in terms of our government relations, because the challenge with the central government, local government partnership does often come back to local government's mandate. So the group's work is future focused for the next election, but as Susan mentioned, there is actually work we're doing now to support local government's mandate, and that is the Policy NZ work, and we are doing within the limited budget that we've got, obviously some marketing and other advocacy in that avenue. We take that really, really seriously, because that comes up in a lot of conversations with politicians in Parliament.
Thanks, Ranj.
Thank you. Any questions? Councillor Olds.
Thank you, Susan. I just want to pass on a comment and congratulate Local Government New Zealand for a wonderful conference in Christchurch. The speakers were really well informed, and certainly we captured the moment there with a number of them, and particularly Nick Smith and the work that he's done. But I am disappointed that we continue to get beat up by central government from our ministers who are continuously blaming us for a lot of the problems. And I'm just wondering how effective we are as a lobbying voice to let the ministers know that we're actually not the fault person here. In fact, it was quite interesting. I saw an article in the paper about the reduction road code usage that government are pushing, and basically saying to councils, you need to do the same thing. Well, the reality is we only do what is required by NZTA or the agencies, for instance, that we work for. So I'm a little disappointed we keep getting beat up all the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a couple of comments and then I'll hand to Ranj. It's a challenge, right? I mean, we all know that in opposition, parties are really strong localists, and in government they tend to be much greater centralists and much more likely to want to constrain and tell you what to do and tell you how badly you're doing to deflect some of the challenges that they're facing. So we are really mindful of that and take every opportunity to talk to government about that. You know, we think it's really, you know, we have a lot of strong advocacy in terms of the challenges and why you do that. And sometimes our best approach is to go to deal with that issue in terms of our different stakeholders, in terms of our media, in terms of how we provide evidence about the work that you do and the value you provide and the pressures that you have around rates. And I think some of that story is actually resonating with our public. I mean, I'm seeing more commentary in the media about, well, it's not as straightforward as, you know, for example, capping rates or just core services, because there's a deficit in infrastructure. So our approach is to look and think more broadly about, you know, how we get the messages across about the value you provide and the evidence on that. Ranj, do you want to add to that?
There are 3 layers to that question, I suppose. And the first layer, we hear you, and we've beefed up our government relations side. So we've just hired a new principal government relations advisor, Paul Hunt, and I hope many of you get to meet him. He has worked at the tail end of the previous national government under Prime Minister English. Then he worked in opposition for 6 years, and at the end of that tenure worked in now Prime Minister's office. So then he was the leader of the opposition, and then worked as transitional staff in Minister Upston's office for about 9 months to a year. So extremely experienced and absolutely knows this government. So first of all, yes, we hear you that we need to beef up that support, so we've done that. Second of all, as you all are, the government is also influenced by public sentiment, right? So the rates conversation is so difficult because there is a huge amount of work for us as a sector to do to inform the public and upskill them about what local government even does. That has come through, like I've kind of alluded to, in the electoral reform working group work. So it's not an easy advocacy solution, and we're working on that. And the third part is that governments of all persuasions need a natural enemy. It's extremely unfortunate that we are here now and we somehow seem to be that focal point at this point in time. But no matter the government, there is, no one will take the blame. No government will ever accept responsibility for the consequences of anything. That's like pretty much 101 GR, sadly. So yes, we are absolutely working on that, and we are taking a multi-layered approach to tackle that problem, but it doesn't happen overnight.
Thank you.
Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, hi, Alistair here. Thank you for your comments. What I'm struggling with a little bit is everything you've written in your report and what you've said today just comes back to one underlying factor, that the Local Government Act is not fit for purpose. And when you tweak, like you're going and say, let's look at rates, let's look at individual parts of that piece of legislation. If you're not careful, you're going to end up with a dog's breakfast like we've got with the RMA, which has just been edited and edited and edited forever, and it makes it more complicated and more ridiculous. We have different voting issues for regional councils as opposed to local councils, as opposed to the central government. Everything's nothing's consistent. It just seems that the Local Government Act is not fit for purpose. And sooner or later, Local Government New Zealand needs to actually say, stop tweaking around the edges. Let's do a rewrite of that piece of legislation, which would incorporate all the things you're talking about and make it fit for the next century. Because right now, it is a mess. It is written probably with big councils like city councils in mind. It takes no account for the realities of small rural councils like us. And don't forget, small rural councils make up the majority of councils in the country. And yet it doesn't seem to reflect that reality.
We,
So if I could give you one piece of advice, we'd say stop mucking around the edges, bite the bullet and start doing a reform of the Local Government Act.
we hear that as well. I mean, we absolutely agree with you. The Local Government Act is out of date, it's complex, it's been added to and amended from, it's been tweaked and continuously is tweaked. One of the things that we are going to be talking to all of the sector about as a result of the AGM remit is about the arrangements for local government in the future, and that will be another catalyst for having that conversation in a meaningful way about we need an act that's fit for purpose and future focused and clear, and ideally also supported across the House, so that we're not flip-flopping as well between different, you know, intents of what your actual role is, which is challenging as well as everything else. Ranj, do you want to add to that?
We have actually raised this issue with Minister Brown when he was our minister, and we were told that his words, and you know, I don't have my notes with me obviously right now from that long ago, but I think his words were something like, look, I absolutely see a case for that, but now's not the time. So so that has been raised with the government. It never is, exactly, with 3-year cycles. We will continue to raise it in our conversations, but in terms of and perhaps what you're actually telling us, and you know, we can't respond to that right now because these sorts of conversations we need to take away. But it's almost like you're suggesting that we need to do some thought leadership and some work on our own
Yes,
to design
absolutely.
something that might work. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And we have had iterations of that work, but we will have another look at that, and we'll just take that away. Thank you for the feedback.
I think the reality is if you don't do it, who's going to? Because there is no incentive for central government to do this, because as you've rightly said, they like the whipping boy. So the more confusion there is out there, the better it is for them. So really, you guys in central and LGNZ have to do the work. You have to present to them probably a finished document, say, just adopt this.
Yeah. Thank you.
Councillor Macaulay.
Susan, Kay Macaulay and the councillors here, but I'd just like to thank your team. I mean, I just think, quite honestly, your job on this must be one of the hardest ones, perhaps even harder than being a councillor. You know, I mean, I think though we'd always like more, you know, that repairs would always like more from us. I think the balancing act you've done between not antagonising the government too much, but also being a force against them, I know it's a hard place to be, and I think you've done, you know, a really good job, and I just appreciate the personal toll it must have taken on you all. So thank you, and the, you know, great conferences and the wonderful intellectuals material you provided. So I'd just like to say thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate that.
I have a question. I guess it sort of follows on a little bit from Councillor Old's question, but when I look at the lists of nominees for this, this way. When I look at the list of nominees for the upcoming election, and mindful that we're 2.5 days out from closing, and I look across a number of councils and regional council included, I see a very light nominations and a number of gaps. And my concern at this point is if that trend continues to closing of nominations, many councils may face the increased cost of by-elections. And obviously communities have reduced choice because there's not a need for election. Some councils only have like just enough nominees. And I wonder what LGNZ thinks about this and what thought has gone into, you know, inspiring, I guess, the community to actually stand for themselves.
Yeah, it's a really good question. Well, we're really concerned about it, and we are, you know, in a way that's the catalyst for the entire Nick Smith piece of work. We know that there's a challenge on your mandate if the turnout is low, if you don't have quality candidates. There are so many pressures on people as they and you know, the challenges you face every day in your job in the newspapers is seen and heard by the public in terms of whether people want to stand, not least the amount of rem you get or don't get. So there are multiple challenges in terms of that mix, but it does concern us a lot. In terms of inspiring people to stand and campaign, you know, and have it running a campaign around that. We can't, you know, to do that is super expensive, and we had a go at it last election, and we had a, you know, sort of public facing stand campaign as well as this vote campaign, but it was challenging to get council support for that, and without that and without some revenue to go into that was really, you know, we can't mount a campaign like that. So what we're doing instead, we are using media where we can. We're using the advocacy we've got, the tools we currently have that aren't going to cost us a fortune to do that. At every opportunity, I speak to the value and the fact that you make decisions that are so important for future generations, and why it's such a cool job, really, despite its pressures. So we do that, recognize it's a problem, and you know, it's the one thing that disturbs me a lot, and I wish we were in a better place. But I am optimistic that the attention that's going into it, and the not only the recommendations in the Nick Smith report, but also his utter focus on it and his relationships with government, and you know, the work that's been done around the edges of that report is going to result in some changes that will start to shift the dial next election. Ranj?
What we're really looking for is like serious behaviour change, and behaviour change campaigns require a huge amount of resourcing. And as Susan mentioned, we actually don't have that this year. So while we're doing everything we can within baselines, you know, Susan's concerned, we like Local Government New Zealand is concerned. What would be really helpful is actually to have to continue that work. You know, I know we've only got 2 days, but we can move pretty quickly. If you've got data, if you've got evidence that of concern, then we would like that. I mean, just email me, seriously, and we can get those conversations up and running, and we will do our very best with what we've got for this election, and we'll prepare for the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Any last comments, Councillor Maynard?
Thank you so much, Councillor Maynard. I think one of my biggest things is I'd like to see in the induction and what we've seen most absolutely more prevalent than ever before is to put some safeguards around in the induction, talking to people about how they can look after themselves.
Yes.
Because there seems to be a lot more, I guess, I don't know, I don't want to put it in the wrong words or to agonise any further, but there does seem to be a lot of people who are willing to really, really push some safety boundaries, let's say. And that's not necessarily just verbally.
Yeah.
And I think that in the induction, that needs to be, you know, when all of the councillors are coming, I'd just really like to see something in there with regards to
Yeah, thank you for that. That's really helpful. That's really affirming because we do have it in the induction work. You will all know that we have, released our own safety guidance for elected members. That's we're finding really useful. Again, dealing with these issues is we're taking a multi-pronged approach to that because it's a serious issue, right? And in fact, I'm even speaking on it in a debate tonight. But our multi-pronged approach is like what systems changes we can influence and advocate for, what guidance we can provide our elected members to keep themselves safe, and then how do we create safe spaces and conversations so that you can actually share and connect with each other on that as a starter for 10. We've got quite a lot of material. We also do free counselling for our members. That's you can access that. But if you're interested in knowing more about what we do, sing out. I think there's quite a bit of data in here, and it's always in keeping it local because that has been a major focus of ours and mine actually in the last while. Ranj, do you want to add?
A very small part of that work is the Remuneration Authority's determination, where now they've determined that councillors can get security systems installed in homes, just like MPs. Of course, there are still barriers and we've got more work to do because it's still a council decision, still ratepayer money. We understand that and we'll continue to work on that. And to your induction point, yes, there is work in the induction modules and we're working. I don't want to get ahead of actually signing some, getting it across the line, but we are working with someone that works with MPs. So, yeah.
Right. Fantastic. That's really good news because, we one of our main goals is to be accessible to the people here, and we don't want to end up being unable to do our job because we're making it more difficult for our ratepayers to be here to be able to discuss things with us because of the flare-ups and things. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, that and also the impact it has on people standing and getting a range of diverse candidates to stand, which is so important.
Councillor.
Hi, sorry, not being closed on. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Glad you touched on the Remuneration Authority stuff. One of the biggest barriers that we have in our district is, for people wanting to stand or continue in local government, is that we just don't get paid enough. And I know there's people on the council, myself included, where that is one of the main reasons why I'm not standing again, because I simply can't afford to. So I heard a while ago that councillors in Christchurch, I'm sure this is for other places as well, they're remunerated appropriately, and then as part of their role as councillors, they're appointed to boards and then paid by the boards for their attendance, and they give that money away, and the amount of money they give away is more than what we receive. So it's a little galling to think that we put the hours in and it's not enough to cover it. The suggestion that I would make, and this is a huge piece of work for obviously not you, Susan, but maybe you, Ranj. The changes that have recently been made to the Waste Levy Fund, where councils put into that fund based on how much waste they're disposing of in landfill. We were always able to access a portion of that fund to be able to pay for infrastructure or changes that we needed to reduce our waste. The change to that fund that's happened recently is that there's now a base rate, a minimum amount that each council is able to access. So that means that very small councils like ours, we're able to access a lot more money, like realistic amounts of money, at the expense of how much bigger councils can access. So my suggestion is that all of the councils in New Zealand moved to having a national remuneration fund that has a base amount that is paid out to, so there's a minimum amount basically. And then if you're a bigger council, you can apply for more. Smaller councils, maybe not so much, but at least that way we might get close to something like a living wage or, you know, a minimum wage for councils, smaller councils. And I think that would really help for the people who would potentially stand. I've had conversations with people who I think would be excellent councillors who simply won't because they can't afford to. They could not afford their rent. They couldn't afford to maintain other work and look after their kids and do this as well. So I think the setup at the moment is anti-democratic, and I think making that a national strategy would be a lot better. So good luck with that.
Thank you. That's an innovative idea. We'll take that away. Absolutely hear you about the REM though, and you know, it's set by the Remuneration Authority and it's complex and it's not enough, and that is a barrier. And we know how hard you work and how poorly you get paid, and that limits heaps of people. So really just want to acknowledge that.
Cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time. It has been really worthwhile to be able to have this conversation. So thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for the written document, and I look forward to continuing these conversations.
Brilliant, and good luck if you're standing again, and all the best if you are not for your next adventures.
Thank you. Right, no, genuinely do think that was really good.
Yeah.
10.2, the ever shrinking action items list. Well done to Amy and the team who have managed to get this list down from multiple pages to just a couple. Any comments or questions from the team on any of the action items that are left?
So just with regards to 321, thank you. This one is with regards, it's already being looked at in the speed management plan. We have the consultation coming up next, hearing coming up next week. But do we have a available, what numbers are looking like at this time? For how many people?
Submission.
Yeah, how many submissions? Okay, sorry. So this may be able to be moved, that's all. So it may be closed because it's sitting elsewhere.
Thank you. Any other comment or questions? No? No comments or questions from staff on any of the items? Amazing. Colin, it's your big moment. Item 11.1, the planning and regulatory portfolio update. Colin or Russell, would you like to speak to your report?
I'll just open by saying thank you, Russell, for providing the information to councillors, and I'll ask you now to perhaps comment on any segments of your report.
Thank you, Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, the report is a summative capture of where things are at in terms of the district plan review, all the good work that's been recently done by the combined committee, and we're looking forward to decisions coming out in September. That's arisen from some discussion with BOFA in terms of trying to establish a date as to when notified decisions will be released by the committee. And then, as you've, no surprise, as you've just been discussing with LGNZ, we're in a period of change for local government and contraction in terms of service, but there's reform happening, and so tried to capture the intent of where the government sees RMA reform with the introduction of 2 acts, but also looking down the track. There will be that key focus and work with regional councils, district, keeping the focus on its environmental and land use issues, but working with regional into the future. So keep working in that space.
Can I just make a comment while we're talking about the district plan review? You're all aware that the minister came out and said Holt will work on it. Okay, straight away there was a lot of comment around on Facebook and things about what a waste of time. You know, we've wasted all this money, so on and so forth. I would reject that outright. We are going to be one of the few districts in the country that is going to have an operative district plan in a period of time of confusion as the government goes through the rewrite of the Resource Management Act. We knew that this was coming 4 years ago. And one of the first conversations we had around the working group before it became a committee was a sort of go, no go. And we decided about 4 years ago, wasn't it, Russell, that we would go. And it has actually proven to be probably a very smart decision for the Wairarapa, because we will have a document that is fit for purpose, is modern, and ready to go. And the other critical part is it will be easy to amend when the new legislation comes out, because we've taken a lot of forward-thinking ideas in how we've written the document and what we've taken account on board, so that knowing that these changes were going to come. So, you know, I think it's as you're walking around, if people are asking you, you can say this was a smart decision and we are going to be in a significantly better position than a lot of other councils around the country that said, no, we're not going to do this.
And because it's so far advanced, it
Well, we had finished the hearings by that stage.
will be implemented. So it's not just fall into a waste.
That's the argument.
Yeah.
You're so far down the track.
Yeah, we had, by the time the government came out with their notification of it, we had finished our hearing. So we are literally in the writing decision period.
We could go.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic.
So we are in a much better place. So that's the word to get out there, that this was not a waste of time, not a waste of money. We are in a much stronger position for this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just add to Councillor Plummer's key points is that with the work, we've also taken the opportunity and the need to be in line with national planning standards, the expectation of what a plan should look like, and also to capture within your plan those strategic issues for the district and across the combined district, which we've done. In terms of the other graphs, you wanted the summative trend for across the different aspects of the business, regulatory, and that's captured for the year trend in terms of anything from building, consents, CCCs, subdivision work, food licenses, alcohol, and dog control matters. And should you have any questions, we have managers Zero and Mia online.
Fantastic.
So help advise.
Any questions for Councillor Old, Russell, or the team? Or are we just thoroughly?
You can't ask a question of yourself.
Okay.
Yes, the subject matter.
Given that series online, it'd be useful to see where building consents are tracking or whether there's any positivity. I mean, obviously there's a decline in building consents, which you know, sort of sets a theme of is this tracking upwards or downwards or every place. Sarah, can you comment? Perhaps you're seeing any change since this report was compiled?
Yep, hi. So we are seeing this month that things have actually picked up and we're starting to get a little bit busier now. We're only down by a couple for July. So as far as consents that have come in, yeah, so I think things are starting to pick up now.
Excellent. And is there any impact, I guess, in terms of our restriction on new connections at this stage with both Featherston, with Martinborough and Greytown? Has that been seen to be an impediment for those wishing to build or design?
I do think that it has made people think twice about where they build and has had an impact on our consents over the last 12 months because we've had a lot of questions around that. And there are still sections out there that people can build on, but I think people see there's a blanket, you can't connect, and so they go, oh, well, we won't build there.
Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, Sarah. Woody?
I think some, I was just in a discussion with some people last night about this fact and the reports that are coming out with the amount of houses for sale in the Wairarapa, etc. And people asking the question about staffing and are we overstaffed for the planning department with the amount of consents that are being accessed at the moment due to one, our sewer plants not being compliant, and the fact that the whole economy, building decline, etc. And with there's been so many houses for sale on the market that can't sell, that a lot of people are finding it cheaper just to buy a house that's already built and build. So are we overstaffed or?
Through the chair, no. We've had this at several meetings where this has come up. We're quite lean on our staffing and we supplement through contractors. So if we have a drop in workload, then it's usually a drop in the consultant's support. We only have, I think we're down to 2 planners at the moment. Now there's potentially 3 plus a team leader. So there's only 3 people if you include Russell, and Russell doesn't just do planning. And then in building, we have 2 inspectors and 2 processors. So we're not overstaffed in that respect.
That's good to know. Thanks, Jens.
Very much. Any other questions for the planning and regulatory team?
So could I just say then to help Woody give an answer, he could say that we are not using consultants so much, but just to him, when you get these questions from the ratepayers, just to say, well, no, we're not, because they're so unreasonable.
Through the chair, I think the easiest thing to say is that we manage the ebbs and flows through careful use of contract support.
Yes.
We don't staff the maximum.
Yes.
Good to know. Right. That is all. Thank you, Russell. Thank you, Sarah. We will move along. This is the section of our morning 11.2 members feedback. So I'll open it up for you all to talk about your community boards and Māori standing.
We've only just had our first meeting in a long time last night. So Janice came along and shared the LWBW with us. So we now have somebody who wants to run for the Māori ward. And everybody knows it. Yeah. And Narita came along and talked about the proposed speed management plan and submission. So everybody put a submission in. Also about the paper road access bylaw and spoke to us about that, and there were also mahi that went into that. And everybody needs to get in there and the submission and support those things so you can protect it. Yeah, so
I've seen some really
good
commentary online about the paper road. Janice, on that, do you know if council will be having any sort of online presence about the paper road consultation? I haven't seen anything on Facebook directly from council yet.
We've got a community engagement at Naui on the 8th of next month, I think it is.
So there might be some social media around that. Yeah, like Violet, I'd like to see that it's being wrong.
And well, Marina gave us a number that there have been 559 submissions so far.
We're getting one the submissions on this.
Underneath it.
and a lot of those rules like people getting on there. So more of us, our community need to get on there and support it.
Yeah.
Yeah, those 4-wheel drivers are in yeah.
I think that's where it's.
Is there other ways to get out there? They don't have to drive through there.
Thank you, Violet. Greytown, Featherston, Martinborough, any updates from your community boards, please?
We've got a meeting tonight, it's just 2 weeks update.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
We'll take that as suitable reason.
Yeah.
What about Martinborough? Any community board update?
I do apologise, I had influenza.
Oh,
so
you were-
I wasn't at the
No,
last
that's
meeting.
fine.
I couldn't even stand up.
So, in Featherston, the last Featherston meeting, the community board meeting we had, was an informal one, so that's classically been a meet the board evening where the community can come along and have a chat to us. And it was a bit of a cold night, we didn't have anyone show up, which is fine. But we had some time to sit around and I think reflect on what we've managed to achieve and what we've done as a board. I think there is a sense of well-earned frustration that things that the board would have liked to achieve over the last triennium has been, it's been difficult to shift the needle. And I think sometimes it's easier to see the losses than it is to see the wins. And so it was good to be able to sit around and I guess reflect on the things that we would have liked to have had different outcomes, but also reflect on the things we have done well that we do like. We've worked together really well with the board. That's certainly been one of my favourite things to be part of as councillor. And I think part of what's made us work really well as a board is that early on in the training, we set up, I guess, we call them the PO, so the principles that we would align our decision making to as we go through as a board. And that's started from, brainstorming everything that we like, everything that we don't like, distilling that down into different things and seeing how that can tie into a longer term vision. So I think my hope and I think some of the board members' hope is that that piece of work will be able to be held and picked up by future community boards, not just in Featherston, but across the district, because they're great. They really centre our community, they centre our environment, and future generations will be here as well. So it's been a great decision-making tool. And yeah, we don't have Lake Super Value anymore, so
No.
it's one of the.
Well, it's an effort on your part.
Well, I think on a lot of people's part, but it was nice that very early on we were sitting around about what we would like to achieve. One of the things was get rid of Lake Super, and it happened. So whether that was just through the power of prayer or not, I don't know. But if that's the only thing we achieve, that's fine. That's good.
I think you make a brilliant point about both the frustrations of community board and the value of the work that comes out of the visioning piece. And I certainly hope that early into the new triennium, there's a really genuine discussion amongst new councillors, the new community boards and officers around how do we empower community boards? How do we empower the people that are on them, so that we don't get to 2 days before nominations close and we see such low nomination names on the list because, as a community, we've heard loudly that the community really values community boards. They want them. And now we have to create a space, much like we were talking about with our GNZ, where we get the numbers of people to stand for them. So yeah, thank you everyone.
It's still open.
Yes, and nominations
It's nominated,
not too late.
it's still open.
Yeah, it's not too late.
So following along the line, get your nomination down.
Please. That moves us along to item 12, and we will move into public excluded. Do I have a mover, please, to enter into public exclusion? Thank you, Violet, and seconder, Councillor Gray. All those in favour, please say aye. Those against, no. Motion is carried. There are several reasons for moving into public exclusion today. That in the plain English that relates to the following reports. Minutes and the Anzac report. Yeah. And you can read the agenda. I will now turn off the live stream.
Hi, everybody.
It gives them time to put in their nomination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone rush off now and fill in your.
Still on mine.